Welcome back. We're going to take a look at exercise 8. And as you can see up there, exercise 8 with Inventor 2021. Now this is a boat that we're going to build, and it's really just a shell of the boat. We're going to build the hull, and then you can dress it up a little bit. I'll show you a little technique here. If you look at some of the earlier videos, I think I've made a couple here. One where I make a sailboat. So if you were to plug in E8 Inventor, it might have been 2014 or 2012, you could look up another way to make a boat other than this. This is like a cigarette boat here. So let's begin. First of all, the training guide is located at vertan1.com. So if you type in VERTAN as in Nancy UX1.com, go to instructional manuals, and the training guide is right under Autodesk Inventor, and you'll find right here the actual training guide. And this starts on page 80. And you can see I give some parameters as to how we're going to generate this first. We're going to create the planes. And the reason we create planes is because this is actually a lofting feature that we're going to use. And a loft takes segments of the geometry. So for example, on the boat that we see here was actually generated via a series. Like in the very back, you can see here, this is on the front plane. I sketched this profile. It's exactly one half of the boat hull. And then we go ahead and we end up making a series of planes, like 6 inches based off of the first one, 8 inches based off of that, and then 1 inch for the very tip. And we draw in those segments on each one of those areas. And then we're able to create what's called a loft. So let's begin. Go to New, Standard IPT, hit Create. Now go ahead and click on Start 2D Sketch and select the XY plane. Now in the training guide, I have you create all the planes first. It's up to you. You could go either route. Anyhow, so let's go ahead, and I want you to find the line tool and hover right over here on the left, click and drag to the origin. Once you get the green dot, click, drag down. This first dimension is going to be, if I recall correctly, 2 inches. So type in 2. I could have done the other one as well. I'm going to go to the front view here. Let's take a look at the training guide. Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 inches vertical. And then there's the horizontal line, which is going to be 2.5. And I'm going to put this on my second screen and just work off of that from there. I'm going to hit Escape or finish. Just hit OK there. Sorry, I just right-clicked and I hit OK. All right, now I'm going to dimension that other one right here, this line. And that's going to be 2.5. And we could hit the front again. Oops. Hit Escape to get out of the dimension tool, and then lay these dimensions out so that you're going to be able to stagger them once you drop in the spline. Now go hit the little line underneath, hit the little arrow underneath line, and find the spline. Now there's interpolation and control vertex. Again, we're going to use interpolation, so go ahead and select that. Get to this vertex. When you get the green dot, click, drag a little bit of a ways away. Like imagine you're going just diagonally across, and we want to do it with 3 steps. So here's the first one right about there. Click, move it down about 2/3 of the way to the finish. Click, and then connect to this point. When you get the green dot, click again and hit the green check mark. Now you could hit Escape a couple times. Let's go to Dimension. I'd like you to dimension this first point right over here that's floating out there, and that needs to be positioned off the top edge. Go ahead and select this top edge, drag it right over here to the right, click, and that will be 1.25. Now click on this point here to the top edge, get between there, and that will be 1.5. Now let's click on this point over here again to the vertical line, and this will be 1 point, or actually this is only 0.5. 0.5. And then this last point, click here to the vertical line, drag it right up here, and this will be 1.5. Then hit Escape and drag these out. And the reason why I want you to stair step them like this is because it's going to make it easier for us to select them later because we're going to reuse this sketch rather than redraw it every time because we need to use it for 2 additional segments. We're just going to copy and paste it. So that's the geometry we're looking for the back of the boat. We're going to work our way forward. It's going to get a little bit bigger, then it's going to get smaller, and then just come to a point. So let's hit Finish Sketch and click on the Home button here to zoom out, maybe zoom out a little bit further. Now go to the little plus symbol next to Origin over here on the model browser, and we need to select one time the XY plane, and then go over here to the plane tools. And we've used offset before with exercise 4, so this is nothing new. Just go to offset plane, and you can see it's moving forward. The arrow's pointing forward. That's good. We want it to be 6 inches, so hit 6 and hit enter. Now select the sketch 1 from the model tree. Don't select it from the actual view screen. You can do that, but it doesn't bring over everything. So we want everything. So we're grabbing the whole sketch, or I should say the sketch as a whole from grabbing it in the browser. Click on it and then hit Control, hold Control and hit C for copy. Select the edge of that new work plane that you created. And now hold Control and hit V as in victory. And there it is. All right, we need to edit this sketch. So if you just double click on it, you'll get this little option right here, Edit Sketch. Okay, first of all, the one thing it didn't carry over, if you grab this upper right point corner with your mouse button, drag it, you'll see it didn't lock in that origin because it's offset. So we need to reassign that. But what we're going to do, we're going to go to Project Geometry. And see this upper right corner here? Click on that so that it wakes it up. Now sometimes, I could have sworn I've been able to lock this in before, but when I practice this again, it wasn't working, so that's why we're using Project Geometry. But now go to the Coincident Constraint. Select this corner in the upper right of the thing we moved away, the profile we moved away, and then click on that projected geometry point that we added. And it should move it over and snap it in. Now go back and hit the front, I should say hit the home button. And we're going to make some changes here. So hit escape, and it's going to get wider. So this 2.5, double click on that, type in 3, hit enter. The 1.5 is going to be 2 inches. So this one right here, double click, make that 2, and the 0.5, double click on that, and that's going to be 0.75. So you can see it's getting bigger. Now, notice that I went from the largest dimensions to the smallest. So when you're expanding geometry, remember that little trick or piece of advice. That usually works pretty well. Well, we'll reverse that on the next one as we actually get smaller. But so this one, the 2-inch vertical needs to be 2.375. The 1.5 vertical, double click on that. That needs to be 1.75. And the 1.25 should be 1.375. Hit Finish Sketch when you're ready. Okay, click on that plane and let's go back to the plane tool and offset from plane. And this one's going to be 8 inches for this offset. So type in 8, hit the green check, select the edge, and it should stay in the memory buffer, that copy and paste that you did. So you should be able to hit Control V as in victory, and it should paste it. If it doesn't, go ahead and select from the model tree again, Sketch 1, Control C to copy, and then select that Control V to paste. Now we're going to edit this one. So click on this. You don't have to double click on it. I know I said double click earlier. You don't have to do that, by the way. Go ahead and edit sketch. And remember the trick, we have to pull that away, that corner. And let's go back to Project Geometry, select that upper right corner, and then go to Coincident Constraint. Select this upper right corner to that point that we added. Now let's go to Isometric, which is the home button. And now it's going to get smaller here. Hit Escape. So we're going to start with the smallest dimensions first, changing them, working our way out to the larger ones. This is, now we're on page 80, like right in the middle there. So this is going to get really small. So the 0.5 that you have there, double click, that's going to be 0.2. The 1.5 horizontal dimension is going to be 0.5. And the 2.5 horizontal is going to be 0.675. Now let's work on the ones that are vertical. So the smallest one first. 1.25 will be 0.2. Oops. The 1.5, double click on that, that's going to be 0.375. And the 2-inch dimension will be 0.6. And hit finish sketch. So you can see it's getting close to the tip, it's getting smaller. Now select the work plane, go to the plane tool, offset from plane, 1, hit enter. Click on that work plane, create sketch. Now we could actually draw just a point if you just go to the point tool, and this one actually just snaps right in there. So you could click on that point, and now we've got a point. Hit finish sketch, and there you can see the little point just floating there. We're ready to loft. Find the loft tool, and now we're just going to click on sections. Now it is important to click in proximity, like break up the geometry into quadrants in your head, and you want to select the same quadrant if you can. So like this upper right or upper left quadrant right here, that's where you want to start selecting. Now watch what happens if you don't. Now you might actually want this effect for a corkscrew or something, but not for this one. Watch if I click on this upper right quadrant now instead of the left. Oh, it actually didn't do it. I'm sorry. This one doesn't. Never mind. I'm thinking something else. Continue selecting this one. Never mind what I just said. And finally, click on the point. And go ahead and hit OK. Now we want to mirror that across. So let's go to the mirror tool and the features. Go ahead and select the body of the boat. Now click on this button, mirror plane, and go over here and find the YZ plane. Click, and you'll see a little green preview. Hit OK. Now, for some reason, it doesn't preview, or it doesn't even, it says, gives you an error message. You might not have aligned the vertical right sides of those different sketches. So go back in and like go to a front view orientation and just verify that they're all aligned. A lot of times I've seen students over the years, they've actually just had one misaligned. They might have missed a step or something. So that's how you could correct that. Now let's hide these other planes. Just right click on this one, turn off visibility, right click on this one, visibility, right click on this one, visibility. Now to make that cigarette boat, what we want to do is probably make it longer. So we're going to lengthen this by about 2 inches. To do that, find the work plane 1 and double click. Now work plane 1, you'll remember, was 6 inches. Let's increase that, type in 8, hit the green check, and now it's actually lengthened the boat. Now select this face, start a sketch, and we're going to add to this. So we could go to project geometry, select this face, and now you could go to offset, click on the outer edge and drag this in about 0.25. You could type in 0.25 if you like. Now go to 3D model, extrude boss. Click on that inside profile. We only want it to go about 0.25 or 0.2, but then the taper, set it to about 45, actually minus 45, or hit the flip switch right here. That gives us more of an aerodynamic look. You know, we could even shorten that. Let's make that only 0.1, hit enter. All right, now let's go ahead and select this face and create a sketch on that surface again. Take the line tool and right at this origin, click and drag this all the way across till right about there. And then we're going to click on that. And just so we know what it is, let's go to center line. So we change it to a center line. And then click off of it and hit escape. Now let's go to the arc tools, find 3-point arc, and we're going to make the cockpit. So back here, actually, the motor is going to have a little cover over it. So right about there, and again, we're just eyeballing it. We're just having a little fun here. So you can make it however you want. Again, I show you how to make a sailboat if you look at an older version of this exercise. You could always go back to that. And so I'm going to have this go about a 1/2 inch forward, click, and I'm going to put a little bit of a bow in there, almost 10 inches, like 9.5 is pretty good. Click, hit escape. Now let's click on that, go to mirror and select mirror line, select the center line, hit apply and done. Now let's go back to that 3-point arc and we'll put the windshield on. So with a blocker, click here. It's not really a windshield on this one. And we're going to just dome that out, not dome it, but we're going to give it a little bit of a radius there. Now let's do the same over here. Click on this point to this point, and we'll just have it bow out a little bit just to give it some curvature. All right, let's go to 3D model, extrude, and notice I didn't add any dimensions. I'm just having a little bit of fun, like I said. Okay, click on those two profiles, drag this up. We're going to go about 1.25-ish. That's pretty good. And let's turn on the taper again, minus 45 degrees. That's pretty extreme. Let's go with instead. Let's go with 30 degrees. Yeah, I like that better. 30 degrees looks. 45 is a little bit extreme. Hit OK. Now go to the YZ plane and start a sketch. And we're going to cut this out a little bit. So go to the line tool and right up here somewhere determine where you want the windshield or the windbreaker there down like that. And then we're going to go up here a little bit and add the engine compartment. Click. Now you can't see through it right yet. Remember, we've looked at how to change that transparency on, or so we can see through it. It's just under view and visual style. You could go shaded with edges, then you can see through it. But you don't really need that. I'm just going to go back to shaded with edges. All right, now I'm going to go to 3D model, extrude, mid-plane, and drag this out and then cut it. So we want to go to right here, cut. All right, hit OK. All right, now we're going to add some fillets. Let's go to the fillet. Now we could have added these fillets in the sketch, but what happens when we extrude with draft? The fillet actually gets smaller as it gets higher. If that's your design intent, then by all means do it that way. But in this case, I'm just going to put this here, and I'm going to squeeze that in a little bit. See a little arrow? I'm going to drag that in. Oh, I don't want it that much. Actually, I think I'm going to put 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 looks pretty good. And this one here. And we'll put one on the back and one there too. We could even put one here and here. All right, now we want to make the cockpit area with the seating. What we could do here, you could select this face if you want to go straight down, or if you don't mind having it at that angle, whatever you want to do. I'm going to select this face here, start a sketch. I'm going to go to project, select this face. Now go, oh, make sure you click on it. Interesting. Let's see if we can offset that. Okay, it doesn't like that geometry, and I think it might be because of the fillet. Let me just check that again. Let's see. Project geometry. Okay, it does not like that. So I'm going to turn off finish sketch here. Yours might think it's okay, and that's all right. Make it about 0.1 if it's working on yours. I'm going to disable that fillet. I'm going to go back to fillet here, right click, and edit feature, and control select those two edges because I suspect that's what it's not liking. So let's try that. Okay, now we can select that face, start a sketch, and we should be able to do our project. Okay, I'm going to cancel on that. Instead, here, let's finish sketch. Let's put it on the actual surface. Start a sketch on the surface that's angled. Now we could go to project, select that face, and there we go. Now it worked. Go to offset, click on that edge, bring it in, maybe 0.1. And now we could go to 3D model and extrude, select that profile, and let's flip it. It went to cut, but we don't want it going that deep, so let's drag that up. Okay, and just make sure it doesn't bottom out and cut through the boat. Again, we're just making a visual appearance here. All right, now we could go ahead and put some additional fillets, or we're going to put that little design on this surface. So select this face, start a sketch. And I went with kind of like a cobra type of sketch. I used, and this is a good time to try the control point vertex. And just get on this edge, drag it out, and click. And what's really neat about this tool, just hit the green check, is you'll see the control vertices, those little points. You could add such a beautiful artistic shape to them. The handles really make it easier. Those of you who are like sculptors, I think will like and appreciate that. That's what's used most commonly in industry for industrial design. Very rarely an industrial designer will use the spline interpolation. They might use it every once in a while. That used to be the only option, but control vertex is much smoother. And we'll go with another one here. So I'm going to add one right about there. I'm going to lightly follow that geometry all the way down. And now I'm going to go to the 3-point arc from this point to this point, add a little bit of a archway. And then this one here isn't going to be exact, but we can fix that. We can actually grab those points and drag them onto the surface. We could actually too steal that edge and use it, but we don't really need to do that. But we're just having fun. All right, now I'm going to just draw a vertical line through there so I can use it as a mirror tool. I'm going to go to mirror. I want this geometry right here to be mirrored. The mirror line is going to be that line there. Hit apply and done. Now I could go to 3D model, extrude, select those two profiles. And of course, we don't want them that high, but let's put in 0.01 maybe. Maybe a little higher than that, but not that much. I could have added more draft too, maybe 35 degrees. Let's see if that looks a little bit better. Let's see that this feature is created right there, extrusion 3. So if I right click, I could edit the feature. And let's put in, I'm going to put in 36. There we go. I like that better. And basically, you're just chiseling away and adding geometry as you go to create that boat. And remember, there's all the colors that you can tinker with here too. So let's say we wanted this to be, let's go with like a cool white. And then we could select these surfaces here and here, add a little bit of accent color to them. And before you know it, you've got your boat going here. You could go to environment, I should say view, give it some perspective, visual style, realistic. Turn, I don't like the default 2 lights. I really like how it looks. Go to ray tracing and add more colors to it, and you have your boat. So that's that exercise, as you can see there, for dressing it up a little bit and just having a little fun. And that concludes exercise 8.